What's happening, Seamilk? We're back in this weird car again.
Actually, I thought this would be a good opportunity. A weird car. It is a weird car.
Yeah, it's a weird car. It's a cool little weird car. But
if you guys didn't know, we somehow magically acquired through the magic of video. A little tiny Colt, Mitsubishi Colt, but it's a
JDM.
turbo JDM random one
with an intercooler
from Macau.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, we were just filming here in Shoko, which is this foreign inhabited infested area. I'm just joking.
I used to always call it the foreign ghetto.
It is kind of a foreign ghetto, but it is full of the people that awesome food, and it's full of fairly wealthy people. Whoa! Are you effing kidding me? Yeah. And again, of course, we didn't have the
we don't have
GoPro in the right direction.
But that guy is being a real. That guy's blocking everyone and being a douche.
Anyway, long story short, it's full of well-off people, Westerners that are here for the oil. Yeah. Are you?
Just a little bus. Anyway,
this is hectic.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
People don't know how to drive around here.
They don't. Anyway, it's full of well-off people that work for the oil companies.
Amazing food. Our last episode off the bikes. You would have seen, right?
If you guys didn't see it, go check it out. Really, really good stuff. Kind of an oasis away from mainland China. Yeah. While being in mainland China, right? Correct. The reason that it reminded me of my first day was one of the first days I came to China was, actually the first day I came to China was Hong Kong, then Shenzhen, and then Huizhou. But one of the first places I went was Shoko, actually. Very, very different now. Completely developed.
Used to be a little golf course behind that boat.
Right.
Like a little driving range or something.
Right. So I kind of wanted to do a video diary in a way about our first experience, first day in China. And I think there's nothing more to it.
Yeah, let's just talk about our first experiences and impressions,
You got here before me, so why don't you start?
Okay, so it was February of 2006.
Okay. Paint us a picture.
It was hectic. So land at the Hong Kong airport.
Okay.
What stood out in my mind, the first thing is they've got a bunch of bus companies there.
Yeah.
And I was with this client of mine. We went to the bus company, and first of all, the ladies there were incredibly happy and helpful and cheerful. And I was like, this is kind of weird, because normally back home in South Africa, service people are usually not very happy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're not very helpful.
So it was almost like what you saw in America.
Yeah, it was weird. Service. So basically, you pay for your ticket, and then they'd put a sticker on you, like a sticker.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of weird. They slap a sticker on your clothes,
and you're like, what?
And they give you a bottle of water and walk you down to the bus. And I thought, this is kind of cool. Get on this bus, and it drives all the way. So I didn't see Hong Kong really. I mean, I basically was just there to get on the bus.
So your first experience was in mainland China?
Well, I mean, no. The thing is, you drive through Hong Kong on the bus, obviously. And it's pretty amazing.
It is.
That big bridge goes over the Victoria Harbour and stuff. Get to the Huanggang border, and then you got to get off the bus, get all your luggage, because you've got all your luggage with you, your trolley bags. Then you have to walk through the border. So you go through one border crossing. Mm-hmm. Now, you've already passed the border when you landed on the plane. Obviously, you've gone through this, but now you have to pass through customs once more. And then you pass through it again. Because
you're leaving Hong Kong and then entering China.
Yes, but there's a no man's land in between, and it's kind of weird, because what happens is in with the Huanggang border is... Hang on, this guy's trying to pull a weird one. All right. You have to get off the bus, go through the China side of the border, then you get back on a bus. Another bus. I remember, I needed to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
And I was in that no man's land.
Yeah, so where were you pissing?
No, I went. They have bathrooms there, but I went in there, and it was the most disgusting thing. Seriously, bro? Eat some air horn. That's right. I love this air horn.
It is annoying.
Well, I mean, hopefully for them. Yeah. Anyway, so I walked into this disgusting, and it was a pit toilet, and I've never seen one before, never used one before. I didn't know what the hell you're supposed to do with a pit toilet.
Right.
So I just used it like a...
squatter, as we call them in America.
Yeah, squatter. I just used it like a urinal, just took a leak in it. I mean, obviously didn't try and do the business in that thing.
Right.
And it was just that immediately hit me, you go through this beautiful, glistening city of Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And you go just over the border, and you're met with filth, absolute, no joke. And I'm not trying to
No, this is years ago.
This is 11 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was mind-boggling. There was literally shit smears, and you know what it's like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Anyway, so that was wow. All right. Anyway, whatever. You get on the bus again. It takes you to the Chinese border. So you've passed over the Hong Kong border.
Sure.
Now you go to the Chinese border,
right?
Mainland China border, and then you cross over into Hong Kong. But because we'd paid this bus company, there's like a van waiting to take you from there to the hotel.
Yeah.
Get to the hotel, and at first, I guess my first impressions was just like, wow, everything's different. You're looking around, there are buildings everywhere,
Right.
I didn't expect China to be so modern because, I kind of expected it to be a bit more rural and run down. But even back then in Shenzhen, in the area I was staying, which is Laowhy, near to Dongmen and all those areas, it was actually pretty nice.
Okay.
So, am I supposed to go up here? Sorry, I'm just trying to think about where I am. Guess I've chosen my path.
Deep. You're so deep.
I've chosen my path.
Take us home.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Anyway, so get to the hotel. The hotel was pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
We had some business meetings the next morning early, so I didn't really get to do much. Walked around a little bit, but I was pretty much blown away. The thing that struck me the most was the fact that people were awake and out in the middle of the night, like
right.
10, 11, 12, 1. They're all walking around, and people having street barbecues,
sure.
drinking beer, chilling out. And, lots of young people, because Shenzhen at that
young
time,
city,
average age was 25.
Wow.
So, you're walking around, and everyone was my age. I was 25 when
right.
I got here first. I'm just going to go straight. I think it's easier. The second crap fell away. And it just blew me away, the vibiness of it all, So that was my first day arriving here. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I was walking around a bit, just buying some things from the shops and seeing what was going on. But unfortunately, the guy that I was with, he was a bit paranoid.
Okay.
And he was like, this is a weird country, you shouldn't go out by yourself, you shouldn't be like walking around, like this is China, you don't know what's going on here.
Was he from South Africa?
He's actually a British guy from South Africa.
Okay.
He was in the security business, so
he's one of those.
He knows the score and whatever. The thing is, I really just wanted to,
party,
go out and explore. I did.
Yeah.
In the following days, but anyway, we're talking about our first day, so
right.
That was my first day.
And the things that struck you were just how late everything was open and all the people everywhere and
how vibey it is, and also the immediate chaos. I should say, like, because when you get into the traffic here, it's just like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
It's just like we're driving around here and there's
right.
just people cutting around and not,
right.
You know what it's like. Anyway. How about yours?
Bit of a death trap. Yeah. My first day in China, I remember, it's weird actually, I'll start mine on the airplane because I took Cathay Pacific, a nice Hong Kong.
Oh, I love that one.
The airline's very good. The flight attendants are quite beautiful at times.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of nice. Taste of things to come. Anyway, when I was on the plane, it was actually one of those things where I had this, I think I took a little nap and then I woke up and I'm like, holy shit, I'm moving to China. You have that realization moment. You're like, what am I doing? So I was kind of freaking out. But when the plane landed, I was in Hong Kong, and again, just like you, I didn't take the direct bus to the border. I spent a little time around central Hong Kong before getting onto the blue line, that goes to the border of Shenzhen. But anyway, I remember looking around and being like, I've never been to somewhere so tropical before. Right. I know you're from South Africa; it's pretty hot down there, but
not like here. It's not the same.
I mean, I'd been to Florida and stuff, but that was about as close as I got. And Hong Kong was these rolling mountains of this lush greenery, and it was stiflingly hot in the middle of winter, which is crazy to me. Blue skies, it was absolutely beautiful, and it reminded me of New York City, but it was cleaner. It was like Asian people were everywhere. It was pretty unique.
Right.
But I knew, ironically, we're driving right past some of the first imagery I had seen when I got here, because this is the bay over here. Hong Kong's to our right. Anyway, long story short, when I got to the border, I remember the first thing that I saw after all this awesome kind of first world stuff was the border line, and there were really, really friendly people on the Hong Kong side, and it said visitors. So I walked through that line, presented my passport, and then I walked through the next line on the Chinese side going into Shenzhen. It says foreigners.
Yeah.
It's not a word that we usually use in a positive manner, We use it all the time now.
Oh, sure.
You got to get used to us using that word.
I'm a foreigner, you're a foreigner here.
We're all foreigners now,
Even when we're in our own countries, they call
for
us
sure.
foreigners.
But
they
it didn't.
Come to our country and call us a foreigner in our own country.
Right. It didn't feel welcoming though.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, it's not.
So I remember I had to fill out this card. I didn't know. I had to fill out like an entry card.
Yeah, there's.
And there was no pens.
Oh yes.
They were all stolen.
Yeah.
They ripped them all off the chains on the Chinese side, of course. And I'm asking the security guards, like, do you have a pen? Didn't speak English.
Yeah.
And I'm like, pen, right? And he's like, no. And I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do? So I asked someone in line.
Yeah.
And then filled out my card. And I think at this time it's getting pretty late. I think it's 10 or 11 o'clock. And it's my first experience crossing into mainland China, right?
Right.
And I was assaulted. I was assaulted by cigarette smoke. And you know that area where you catch the buses, the coach station in Shenzhen at Laowhy?
Yeah, it's gross.
There was all these guys trying to grab my luggage and be like, come with me, you know, actually taking my bags. I'm like, can you F off? Don't touch me, bro.
Yeah, taxi.
Yeah, taxi, like really aggressive, you know. Smoking cigarettes, spitting everywhere. And I remember it was almost like the air changed. Back then, Shenzhen didn't have super clean air. And there was still a lot of heavy industry around the area, right? So it was super polluted, like almost immediately after going over the border. And I think it was probably all like old cars and buses that were around, but it was like stinging my nose. And I remember just everyone staring at me. I didn't see any foreigners anymore. And I remember I was looking for the bus to Huizhou. And I had not spent very much time in Shenzhen, but I got to see it on the way out. And I get on the bus to Huizhou, and there's not one other person on there. But the first thing that happens is a girl, young girl, probably like 16 or something, comes up to me. She's obviously working on the bus, and she just puts a Sony camera in my face and starts videotaping me.
Oh yeah.
And puts it away, and I had absolutely no idea what was going on, you know. Then I'm like, I don't know where to pay. And then she asked for the money there. I pay. And as I drove through Shenzhen, there was quite a bit of traffic that night, and I saw a city that reminded me of a mix between Blade Runner and Mexico and Las Vegas. Just all the neon LEDs everywhere. All in one. It was absolutely an assault on the senses just even looking out the window, and the lack of development in compared to America and Hong Kong just right across the border was so striking to me. I saw beggars on the street. I saw brothels with pink lights with half-naked women in the windows. I was seeing people eating on the street like almost at midnight. It was insane, and at that moment, I was super sleep deprived, so it was already kind of surreal. But I remember thinking, holy shit, did I actually just move here? Because I'm about to go to an even more ridiculously out in the middle of nowhere city. Long story short, I get to Huizhou, and the first image that I see when I get off the bus as I'm trying to find a taxi is in the middle of the city, there's burn barrels, and people are just burning garbage on like one of the main roads. Just throwing garbage in there at midnight, just burning, like holding their hands over it. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? It's like cats banging each other everywhere, like screaming and shit. It was absolutely insane. And I'm like, I have to live here now. And I went to I took a taxi. Oh, by the way, who tried to rip me off?
Yeah, they always do.
He didn't use the meter, and I had to pull the meter down for it because I read about that.
Okay, good.
And so I didn't want to get ripped off. Anyway, I get to my dorm where I'm staying for my first teaching job, and I remember walking in this like one-room dorm. Everyone's sleeping already. So one-room dorm, and there's this bed that's basically just a box spring with a sheet on it. And the walls are filthy. It's tiny. It's like way smaller than the bedroom I grew up in.
Right.
Yet it's supposed to be where I live. You know what I mean?
That's scary.
I remember turning on my computer, telling everyone I was safe. Facebook and YouTube were unblocked at that point. It was in 2008, late 2008. Anyway, telling everyone I was there, and I just remember conking out and waking up the next morning, absolutely like, holy shit, I actually live here. Looked out the window, and there was like 200 school children singing like communist songs with their red handkerchiefs, marching with flags and stuff. And I was like, well, it's time to go explore, you know? And I'll just round off the story. Is the first time I saw China in the day was when I walked downstairs, and there was a seafood restaurant literally connected to where I live. And there's a truck, and the back of the truck was open, and they were unloading boxes of stuff, right? But this guy like spills a ton of them, and all of a sudden there's like at least 100 crabs running and scurrying out all these boxes.
Right.
And they're running over my shoes, right? So I'm like, this is my first experience, is I'm getting attacked by crabs like downstairs from my house, you know? It was absolutely crazy, like, first day, and I just thought it was kind of interesting to be able to reminisce, you know, on how some of those reactions that we had back then, because now we take it for granted. Nothing's weird.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, but you said like the first time you saw it in the day. I'm just going to put in here that China looks way nicer at night.
Oh, it looks cool.
Yeah, because like the lights come on, and it really is pretty cool. I really enjoy it, and it also kind of hides a lot of the dirt.
Sure. Well said.
Yeah.
That's well said.
Yeah. Cool.
Chinese cities at night. Yeah.
So, I mean, my first impressions of China were mixed, but obviously overly positive. Otherwise, I wouldn't have moved here.
It was awesome, actually.
Because unlike you, I didn't come here and live here. I came here for a 3-day business thing, and then I decided, because I had so much fun, I decided to come back and live here.
Oh, okay. Mine is probably more of a shock because it was an immediate commitment. Right. Whereas you're like, I actually really like it here, and then I'll come back.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, it's just insane, really. I could say that. If you come to China for the first time, it's pretty insane. Absolutely. I saw that in my parents, in their reaction when they came here, you know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Cool, man. So, I guess that wraps this up, you know, a little bit of back history there. Anything you'd like to say to our subscribers before we sign off?
Well, if you ever have the chance to come to China, I promise you will have a good time, especially if you watch our videos and you know that, how to not get scammed and which places you should avoid and which places you should definitely go to.
Oh, yeah, do some studying up.
Do some studying up because it is not, it's not a first world country yet, in any way, shape, or form, really. Yeah. Unless you're in some of these foreign ghettos, as you call them.
Yep, absolutely.
Like back then. Anyway, whether you decide to come to China or not, whether you just watch our videos for fun and do some armchair traveling, I hope you decided and made the choice to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.
Correct. And whether or not you watch our videos, like you said, because you just kind of have nothing better to do, and we appreciate that, by the way, because that means that you're doing something pretty awesome.
Let us do the dirty work.
Yeah. Or if you're planning to come here and actually check this place out for yourself, we love you all the same. So until next time, guys, you know the drill.